The galaxy had seen many ships, sleek, modern, and powerful. But there was one that stood out for all the wrong reasons. It was old, rusted, and when Captain Lucas Thorne stepped onto the bridge, the crew of the Juno Horizon couldn't help but snicker. "Is that the ship?" Ensign Calra whispered to her colleague, pointing at the vessel docked beside them. "Looks like a junkyard found its way into space." "Yeah," Lieutenant Drass replied, chuckling. "I've seen derelict ships with more polish than that." The Relic, as it was called, was a remnant of Earth's past. A once proud warship from the early space age, it had been mothballed for centuries. Now, after countless repairs, it was being revived for a mission that no one expected to succeed. Captain Thorne, a man who had once been a legend in the human military, had insisted on using this ship despite its battered appearance. The crew aboard the Juno Horizon had doubts. They had heard the stories about Captain Thorne, the man who had led humanity's first successful battle against the alien Zorvax. But that was years ago, and the universe had moved on, with a new generation of captains and state-of-the-art ships who still cared about a relic like the Relic. As the crew watched from the docking bay, Captain Thorne emerged from the old ship. His tall, broad figure cast a long shadow, and despite his age, he moved with the same commanding presence that had once made him famous. The laughter and whispers faded as he approached, his steely gaze locking onto them. He smiled faintly. "I see you've all been admiring my ship," he said with a dry humor. "Don't let the looks fool you. She's been through a lot, but she's still got some fight in her." The crew fell silent, exchanging uncertain glances. They didn't know what to think. The Relic had no advanced shielding systems, no AI-driven navigation, and no fancy weapons. It was a piece of human history, but history wasn't enough to win battles, was it? The mission ahead was dangerous. The Zorvax Empire had reformed, and a new war was brewing. The Relic was to infiltrate one of their heavily fortified stations, gather intelligence, and escape undetected. It was a suicide mission, and the Juno Horizon was the backup ship, waiting to provide support if things went south. As the Relic made its way through the galaxy, Thorne didn't take the ship's appearance as an insult. He'd been through battles where victory seemed impossible, and against all odds, humanity had triumphed. This ship had seen the dawn of human space exploration, and now it would see the rebirth of humanity's strength once again. The mission began. The Relic entered the Zorvax-controlled sector. For a time it was quiet. The crew could only wonder when the first attack would come. There was no ambush, no barrage of weapons. The Relic drifted through enemy space, completely unnoticed. "How are we getting away with this?" Lieutenant Drass asked, staring at the monitors. "We should have been detected by now." Captain Thorne stood at the helm, his eyes scanning the stars. "It's not just a ship, Lieutenant. It's the people inside it." He paused, his voice dropping to a whisper. "We may be outnumbered, but we've got something they don't: experience." The crew exchanged confused looks. What was Captain Thorne talking about? Experience couldn't save them from the Zorvax fleet that patrolled the area. Then the first Zorvax fighter appeared on the radar. The crew tensed, but Thorne didn't flinch. Instead, he turned to the ship's navigation console and punched in a series of commands. "Hold on tight," he said with a grin. The Relic lurched forward, its ancient engines roaring to life. It wasn't the fastest ship, but it was maneuverable, and Captain Thorne knew every inch of its systems. He guided it through asteroid fields and debris like a master of his craft. The Zorvax fighter followed, unaware of the trap being set. "Now," Thorne shouted. Suddenly, the Relic released a hidden barrage of old missiles, ones that had been scavenged from Earth's forgotten stockpiles. The missiles streaked through space, striking the Zorvax fighter dead on. It exploded in a burst of flames, leaving nothing behind. The crew of the Juno Horizon watched in awe. "They did it," Ensign Calra whispered. One by one, the Zorvax ships that had been patrolling the area were taken down. The Relic wasn't flashy, but it had something more: the human ingenuity that had once made Earth a force to be reckoned with. With each passing moment, the crew of the Juno Horizon began to see the power of Captain Thorne's choice. The Relic wasn't just a relic of the past, it was the embodiment of humanity's resilience. After hours of tense maneuvers, Captain Thorne successfully guided the Relic into the heart of the Zorvac station. They had achieved their goal. Intelligence gathered, mission accomplished. But the Relic wasn't done yet. As they made their way back to the ship's exit, a Zorvax Dreadnought appeared, a massive vessel more powerful than anything they had faced. The crew of the Juno Horizon feared the worst. There was no way the Relic could escape now. But Captain Thorne wasn't about to let them down. "Prepare for a full-on escape," he ordered, his voice calm as ever. "We've got one shot." The Relic darted into the depths of the station's vast interior, navigating narrow corridors that the larger ships could never fit through. As the Zorvax Dreadnought closed in, the crew braced for impact. But the Relic was no longer just a ship. It was a symbol of everything humanity had fought for, a legacy of defiance and survival. With a final burst of speed, the Relic emerged from the station, narrowly dodging the Dreadnought's fire. They had done it. They had outsmarted the odds. The Relic had proven that even the oldest ships could fight back with the right crew and the right captain. As the Relic docked safely at the Juno Horizon, the crew couldn't hold back their admiration. What had seemed like a relic of the past was now a beacon of humanity's future. Captain Thorne stood at the ship's bridge, a satisfied smile on his face. He knew the truth. The ship was more than just metal and wires. It was the heart of humanity. And as long as humans believed in their strength, the Relic would always have a place in the stars.